Hello there, and thanks for joining us on this extremely cold Monday night here on KHOU 11 Plus for special streaming winter storm coverage. I'm Mia Gradney.
Yes, we are dressed for the cold. I'm Lynn Cannon. Tonight, we have a lot to get to as this Arctic blast heads our way, bringing with it snow, sleet, and ice, and this storm could be one for the record books.
We have Chief Meteorologist David Paul and Meteorologist Pat Kavlin in studio, keeping an eye on everything for us. Amanda Henderson is live at the Houston Emergency Center with the latest from Mayor John Whitmire and public safety officials. I'm Marcelina Benito. He is in Cypress, checking in with people about their last-minute preparations. But let's get with our weather team first. What's the latest update on precip and snow, Dave?
We're beginning to get lots of light sleet across northern Harris County and in Montgomery County, so it's beginning to come down in many parts of the area. Now, that being said, temperatures at the surface for the moment are still above freezing, so what's falling is not sticking. 37 degrees at Hobby, Bush 37, Tomball 36, Conroe 35, and in this area here, we're getting light sleet mixing with a few snowflakes. There's the first band beginning to develop across Houston and southeast Texas. Dallas getting very light precipitation, a little bit of snow up there as well. And it's filling in there between Dallas and Houston. Waco getting in on some light snow there as well. Zooming into our area, there's our first snow band beginning to set up. It's very light, and again, it's mostly ice pellets. Those are from on-the-ground reports. It's light, but a little snowflake is mixing in every now and then, stretching from all the way from Lake Livingston to Cleveland to Kingwood to Spring to the Woodlands, back to Cypress and to Katy, and all the way back to Austin County. Zooming in, and look at this, even inside the 610 loop now, radar picking up some very light sleet, mixing with snowflakes. That's pushing into the heights there across West 34th and 43rd Street. There's the heights, couple little snowflakes falling there. Cloverleaf to Magnolia on the east side getting a little bit sleety as well. But you can see the darker colors here. That's where the sleet is a little bit heavier. Spring back to Cypress through the Klein area and then up to Roman Forest and Eastgate. Here's a closer view. Spring, there's the 99 connector. There's the Hardy Toll Road where it splits with I-45. Woodlands, a little bit of ice pellet action coming down right now. To northwest Harris County, Corville to Klein to Cypress to Deco, all getting light sleet. But this radar echo has been getting a little brighter and a little brighter every time it updates. We're in the light snow category, but on the ground reports are this is mostly very light sleet, little ice pellets coming down. Northeast side, there's Kingwood. Here's Lake Houston. There's the north side of Lake Houston. Dogwood Acres to Kingwood, up 59, 69 to Roman Forest and Splendora, getting light sleet pellets. And then back out to the west, there's Colorado County, Columbus to Belleville to Industry to Sealy, getting light sleet pellets as well. Now, this is about exactly how the models had expected this would go as we head into 8, 9 o'clock, beginning to get a little bit of light sleet and snow. Look how it expands between 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock. So that's when things begin to get more interesting. And as we drop below freezing here, temps 31 Liberty and Huntsville 29 by that time, then what's falling will begin to stick. Temps drop below freezing and a good solid band of moderate snow across the heart of Houston and southeast Texas. That's by 3 a.m. So hopefully you're just bundled up and sleeping as the snow and the sleet comes down, because roads will be getting treacherous overnight tonight. And by morning, it's still snowing and temps dropping into the 20s. So everything's sticking, and by that time we're talking about snow totals of 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. Still snowing along the coast to Galveston by 10 a.m. and then it finally exits after that. So that's the big picture of what's going on and the timeline of the snow and sleet to come down. Now, Pat Kavlin, you and I have been looking at snow total potentials very carefully for the past several days. And this could be one of the heaviest snows that Houston has ever seen if these models you're going to show us verify.
Now, so Dave, you grew up in Houston, right? And so you've actually been through, now what were the two biggest snowfalls that you've been through here?
Well, my most memorable one was 1973. Right. I believe it was January 73. Let's see, I would have been 5. And I remember throwing snowballs that morning with the big kids out on, we were living on King's Ride in the Memorial area. And it was just one of the most magical moments as a Houston kid you could ever have. But for the adults, it was no fun.
It's a headache.
Yeah, and I remember the roads being really slushy and Dad not wanting to go out.
And so this is really, to that point, Dave, this is like a once in a generation type storm here. We could see those types of snow totals again by the time it gets to tomorrow. Here's the latest snowfall forecast that we've got running for you right now. We'll start to the west first. I think places like Columbus down to El Campo right now looks like probably around 2 inches, 1 inch as you go well off to the west. Then places like Fort Bend County, Getting into Brazoria County, Austin, Colorado, up to 90. We could be in that 2 to 3 inch range. But I think as we get into Harris County and into parts of Montgomery County, 3 to 5 inches of snow, not out of the question. It really will ultimately depend on how fast we get that changeover from the sleet that we're seeing right now to just plain snow. And if we can get that changeover quick, we are going to have to pull that darker blue farther to the west to include some of those northern areas. But I do think the city will see 3 to 5 inches. And look at how far, look at this. The 3 to 5 inch snow contour goes all the way to the coast. We could see 3 to 5 inches of snow on Galveston Beach. Think about that by the time we get to tomorrow morning. So really impressive numbers showing up here. And then that big jackpot, the big bullseye, will be out to the east along I-10, where we could see 5 to 7 inches plus in Louisiana. Weather impact alert in effect. This is for that heavy snow, for the sleet that started to come down already. This will be with us starting now, going all the way through noon Tuesday. That's when everything should quickly start to wrap up across the area. Travel will become extremely dangerous very quickly here, even within the next few hours with that sleet falling right now. Travel conditions will start to diminish rapidly and become almost impossible at times as we get into tomorrow. So weather impact alert in effect for tomorrow and for Wednesday. The reason we have it in effect for Wednesday is because we see a hard freeze late Tuesday getting into Wednesday morning. Conditions do improve, though, by the end of the week and the weekend. We'll talk about that warm up. We'll talk about a nice thaw coming up, and we'll do a deeper dive on radar and the models when we see you back here again in about 10 minutes. Dave?
And Pat, you mentioned this hard freeze going into Wednesday morning and the weather impact alert. This is why we have extended the weather impact alert into Wednesday, because there will still be, we believe, lots of ice and sleet on the ground. And overnight into Wednesday morning, temps are going to drop into the low 20s and teens, and that is going to freeze anything that's left on the ground. So roads, overpasses, little bridges could have lots of icy spots. I'd recommend not traveling now through the middle of Wednesday. After Wednesday afternoon, things should begin to improve. And again, Wednesday morning, people, pets, plants, and pipes, all the P's, need to make sure they are protected at that point. All right, guys, that's where we stand with the sleet and a little bit of snow beginning to fall. Amanda Henderson is out and about, and she has more about how the city of Houston is preparing for, Amanda, what might be one of the heaviest snowfalls that we have ever seen.
Yeah, and of course there's that excitement surrounding it, but there's also a lot of anxiety surrounding it. I know we don't compare storm to storm, but a lot of people have been saying that they think about 2021 whenever there's any kind of mention of snow or sleet. And I can tell you that some of it's already been falling out here in Northwest Houston. But city officials are saying, listen, we have a plan. We know what we need to do, and we know who we need to communicate with. And that preparation has been ongoing since last Thursday. But Mayor John Whitmire a little earlier this afternoon saying this is the time to get home and to stay home. And if you're on the roads, like we see some people right here behind us, you better be going that way, because the ice, again, it's starting to fall and we can see it. I don't know if you guys can, but I have felt it hitting me in the face. Here's what we know for tonight and going into tomorrow. Public Works is going to have crews that are going to be stationed across the city, not only to pre-treat those roads as best they can alongside TxDOT, but to also be there for any calls that they may get, especially any of those busted pipes. If you see them, call them in. The other big thing to keep a reminder in the back of your mind about is that first responders, they are on the clock. They're not going to go away. So if you have an emergency, call them. However, their response times are likely going to be impacted if there's any kind of precipitation on the road and it freezes, ice, wintry mix, even snow that eventually completely melts. That is something to keep a very close eye on, because that's not always visible on the roads. So again, city officials really hitting home the point. If you do not have to be on these roads for the next couple of days, just don't do it. Enjoy this potentially once in a lifetime situation with your family and your loved ones safely. Listen, it's cold. We know it. we know this is exciting, but you also have to be smart about it. So if you do have to be on the roads for any reason, drive slowly. Again, I drove in the Midwest for 10 years. This is something that we're used to every year. We see the ice, we see the snow. It's not something you can drive in at a normal speed like you would when the roads are completely clear. You gotta be careful, but that's what we're seeing out here right now. A little bit of a preview of what's to come, and everybody's excited, but again, the time to get home is now. We're going to toss it back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, watch that winter wonderland from the comfort of home. Thank you, Amanda.
Marcelino Benito joins us now live from the Cypress area. How are people there preparing? What's the word, Marcelino?
Well, guys, as David Paul mentioned, you can already see that the snow sleet type mixture has begun to fall. My photojournalist Cesar Nunez is probably trying to give you a good look at, as to what it looks like out here right now. You see a pretty steady flow of sleet at this point. Nothing sticking at this point, as David mentioned. We are above freezing here in Cypress, but I can tell you when that wind blows, it almost feels like we're under 32 degrees. Now, I spent most of the day here at this Buc-ee's off of 290. They call it the baby Buc-ee's. It's not the big one that's further out west. And you see a lot of cars out here right now. But really, this has been pretty quiet these last couple minutes because it has been far busier throughout most of this afternoon. No pumps have really been available most of the day. People coming here, stocking up on gas. We've been talking to folks who wanted to stock up on gas for their generators, for their vehicles, just in case the power does go out. Now, as Amanda mentioned, the city hoping we don't have major power outages this time around. That is a concern. Folks do remember the last winter storm in 2021 when we did have those issues. I just talked to the man who's hauling this equipment here. I asked him if he could use this for snow, if we would need to use it later when we have several inches of snow that we expect to fall in this area. He said no, this is what he was using for his job today to move concrete. These people are still coming home from work. They're heading to their homes. And I can tell you just for reference, I was at this same baby Buc-ee's back in 2021 during that severe storm. During that storm, we had a lot of ice in this parking lot, and I can tell you from talking to folks back then, they weren't really taking this very seriously. People were planning to go out, they wanted to see, they were curious. This time around, everyone we've talked to out here says they are planning to take this very seriously. They're stocking up on everything they need. They said grocery stores have been madhouses across the city. I talked to one guy who said he was at Costco on Saturday, and it was the busiest he's ever seen it with people stocking up on things. People telling me they had bad experiences in 2021 when they tried to get out on the roads, and they don't want to make that mistake this time around. Just behind us, you can see 290. This is 290. You can see some cars will be driving by here. You'll see some lights. The roads are fine right now because we don't have heavy precip falling, snow or sleet. It's not sticking at this point, but you could already see here in Cypress, it is starting to fall. These roads will continue to get worse as this goes on, hour after hour. So this will not be what it looks like in just a few hours here in the Cypress area as this continues to develop. Again, folks here telling me they plan to take this very seriously. They plan to ride this out at home. They're prepared with groceries, food, water, and gas to last them several days until the roads become drivable and less treacherous once this snow falls on the ground and is able to melt once we get above freezing. So again, guys, people, I guess the good news so far is that people have been heeding the warnings from our meteorologists that we've been broadcasting to them the last few days. So they do plan to take this seriously and just enjoy the winter weather. Let us be the ones that are out here bracing it. You watch it at home and let us tell you about it. Back to you.
Yeah, we know for certain that a lot of Houstonians have PTSD after those bad experiences that you mentioned. And I know everyone was out shopping this weekend, if not today. The stores were packed this weekend. I have to say, when I went today, it wasn't so bad. I feel like everybody does not want to be caught off guard again. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have their stuff perhaps last time, so they're making sure I've got it well in advance. They've known it's coming.
I ventured out yesterday, and everybody was out. I was at Costco, and it was like bumper cars with the carts. It's like, excuse me, pardon me. It was a madhouse. And I went to another grocery store, almost couldn't find a parking space. People backed up, waiting for somebody to leave. Yeah. It was wild.
Yeah, it was a little bit better today, at least in my parts. But again, I think that's because everybody...
They saw you coming.
No. I think, David Paul has done such a great job, and Pat Kavlin, of getting the word out early and prepping people. I think people, have really listened because they've learned the hard way.
Very true. Mm-hmm. They've been a witness.
Okay, take a look at this now. Some light sleet falling in the Cypress area. Marcelino showed us some of it. This is from a different vantage point. Video courtesy of Joseph Alvarado. Keep sending us those videos, by the way.
Yeah, they're going to keep, more snow is going to be coming, so the snow and the videos are going to get more interesting. We know there may be a lot of anxiety about power outages because of 2021. We do want to be clear here. This is not going to be a statewide winter event like the one we went through 4 years ago.
The strain on the power grid, it is not expected to be as bad this storm. Regardless, though, we are closely monitoring the grid conditions for you. I want to give you a look here. This is from ERCOT. The top line in this graph is supply, and it's hovering over the bottom line, which represents demand. This means there is enough power to keep the lights on for now, and it's forecasted to stay that way for the immediate future. And tonight, Centerpoint says about 3,000 workers are ready to be deployed if needed to respond to any power issues caused by the winter storm.
This is a view of one of 3 staging areas for Centerpoint and its utility service crews. This gives you an example of how prepared they are. That is an army of trucks and vehicles ready to go. This is south of NRG Stadium. These particular trucks include local workers, but also workers here from North Carolina, Virginia, and Florida.
Earlier this evening, Centerpoint held a news briefing to discuss their readiness and plans for the winter storm.
Let's take a listen.
So as we get started here, I just want to offer a quick safety message to anybody out there, public or our customers. Make sure you check on those elderly friends and family and neighbors, as well as people in your neighborhood. It's going to be cold, and we want to make sure everybody's being taken care of. So make sure you reach out to people who might not be aware of what's happening. So please take the time to do that. I want to focus on what we've been doing for over the last week. We've been tracking this weather for quite some time. Our in-house meteorology team, along with our additional outsourced partners on the meteorology front, we've been tracking this. We've been preparing, so this goes all the way back to last Monday. We started looking at this. On Wednesday, we activated what we call our winter readiness plan. That's both for electric and gas, so we started doing a number of checks on our equipment, thinking that this might actually be what's happening. So we were executing that. On Friday, we made the decision to go ahead and ask for mutual assistance, which means bringing in additional resources from other states to make sure that we would have enough people to be able to respond to the situation. And then over the weekend, which is obviously a 3-day weekend for the MLK Jr. Weekend, the day off today, we had our entire meteorology, our emergency planning and response team, as well as our operations folks that were working throughout the weekend to track what's happening today. So as you can see, quite a number of things are going on. So that really brings us to today. And with that, I want to turn it over to Darren. So Darren.
All right, thank you, Keith. Can you guys hear me okay, just as we get started? All right, Darren Carroll. I lead our electric business. It's DARIN, CARROLL. And first and foremost, just, what's that, a little bit louder? All right. Later this afternoon, we're going to be officially activating our Level 2 Emergency Operations Center to support the potential response to Winter Storm Enzo. As you can see, we've already activated staging sites. This is one of 3 that we've activated. I've been to another one this morning. I intend to head to the 3rd one when I leave here. Very proud of the teams that have set these up. It's a logistical challenge to get all this done so quickly, and very, very proud of the work that the teams have done. We are absolutely ready for anything that may come with this event. We've got mutual aid workers here. We brought in 1,200 additional folks on top of our day-to-day work crews. That'll put us close to 3,000 boots on the ground for this event. We've had folks from as far as Virginia, North Carolina, Florida come to support. Right now from the meteorology teams, both internal and external, we're hearing 2 to 5 inches of snow, not a lot of ice. That would be the ideal in terms of keeping any impacts to the electric system at a minimum. The more ice that we have, the more concerning it becomes because of what it can do to trees and limbs and other things. So we are very, very prepared though and ready to go. Since mid last week, Keith talked about some of the preparation activities. I'll just hit on a couple more. We've been very communicative with our 2.8 million customers. Power alert services notices for those that are signed up and enrolled in that service. Emails. We've talked to reached out to our critical care customers. We have a service where folks can sign up as critical care. We've been communicating with them, give them tips ahead of time and making sure that they're taken care of. And just on that note, today we've deployed 4 small mobile generators to warming centers in and around the city. We've done that in coordination with the city and emergency management folks, just in case the need arises for those warming centers and there's an issue on the grid. So finally, just as I wrap up, a safety request, I want to echo what we've heard from emergency management, from the county judge. With this winter weather coming, please stay off the roads. It's going to be treacherous driving. If you do have to get out, please drive safely. Take care of yourself. We're going to have a lot of crews out working. They're going to be staged ahead of any outages even occurring. And so the more folks that are on the road, the more dangerous it becomes. So please just be safe. And with that, I'll turn it back to Keith. Thank you.
So just to wrap up here, and we'll take a few questions. Just three quick reminders. Number one, Darren mentioned it, Power Alert service. That's a way for you to get either an email, a text, or an auto phone call giving you an update about what's going on with your power service. So that's outbound from us to you. You can sign up for that, so you have to come sign up. So we would strongly encourage people to do that, number one. Number two, our outage tracker. We know there's been some issues with that in the past. Significantly increased the capacity on that. It's now based in the cloud. We are ready. We've load tested it over the weekend, and it is ready to meet the needs of our customers. Final point, here in the last few weeks, we've introduced some new social channels to make sure people can get relevant information specifically where they are. We're based here in Texas. We have operations throughout other states. But if you want to know what's going on, please go to on X to @centerpoint_TX. So with that, we're happy to take a few questions about what's going on. So Keith?
Yeah, don't have to tell you all a lot of pressure, a lot of notice for CenterPoint Energy when you go back to the summer, when you go back to even a few years ago with the first power outage. Are you all feeling that, and how are you going to stand up to those expectations of that pressure this time around?
Sure, absolutely. Let me just say a couple words about that. We heard the calls for change and for increased focus after Beryl. We've made a number of implementations for our Greater Houston Resiliency Initiative. So we've put a lot of measures in place. That's more poles, that's more tree trimming, that's more reclosure. So all that's been going on since last summer. We are scaled and ready to go for this storm. So I'll let Darren say some more about that.
Yeah, no, I just want to, reiterate what Keith said. We feel very prepared, very confident. The teams are focused as they always are. Lots of improvements to the systems. Over 3,500 miles of vegetation management just since the summer. So feeling very, very good about our level of preparation.
Sure.
Can you talk about what you're seeing with your internal damage models? What areas are expected to be hit the hardest, and how many outages you're prepared to handle?
Hey, really good question, Claire. So I think the question was, in terms of the damage model, what are we seeing? I would say the weather models have varied widely every single day. So I would say we're continuing to track that. In terms of what we're scaling for, I mean, we've got 3,000 workers here between our own crews and folks here that work for CenterPoint and locally, as well as the 1,200 additional mutual assistance folks that are in from across the country. So we feel scaled really well to be able to meet the challenge. I would say the one thing that we're going to need to keep in mind is it's going to be precipitation on the ground. It's going to be cold tomorrow night and freeze. So access is going to be key for us. We're going to be out trying to do our work, but getting on some of those roads that may be more treacherous, we're just going to have to wait and see what that looks like. So we'll have to see how many outages there actually are, Claire.
What are you guys doing differently in comparison to, let's say, the 2021 freeze? You talked a little bit about the vegetation, but for people at home that are concerned that went through that firsthand, what would you tell them?
Yeah, let me let Darren take that one.
Yeah, thank you for the question. The 2021 event was very different. That was not about impacts to our system directly. That was more of an issue of us having electrons delivered to the Houston area, right? So very different. We did rotate load during that event. This is very different. We're preparing for the things that we can control, which are the impacts to our system. And, just to pair this a little bit with the prior question, an example of our preparation, we've strategically set up these staging sites in the parts of town where we think there could be more damage based on our damage models. Galveston, I was at Galveston this morning at Moody Gardens. We specifically put our crews on the island thinking that they may not be able to traverse the bridge over the causeway, if we needed to be there. So we've got people overnight staying in the hotels. It's mandatory for them to be there to be able to serve our customers. So, just giving a flavor for the difference in preparations that are underway with this event.
What areas are you guys thinking high impact? That's some areas.
Yeah, right now with it being mainly a snow event, we think it's going to be a little bit more widespread. When we were looking at icing, it looked like it's more going to be kind of the northeast part of town where there's a lot more trees. With this, though, we think the biggest threat, frankly, is car accidents. Folks hitting our poles when they're out driving can cause some issues, things like that. But I couldn't really point to a area right now that we're more worried about than any other.
Where are the other two staging areas?
There's another one that's fairly central to Houston, and then we've got one down on Galveston Island at Moody Gardens.
Again, keeping in mind our service territory is spread out across 12 counties in the greater Houston area. So again, pre-staging folks all around so we can be able to respond. Again, it's kind of tomorrow night, Wednesday, even into Wednesday night. It's going to be about access to roads. Are the roads navigable? Very much working in concert with the city and county on all these matters. And I would just echo what Darren said. Please stay home. I mean, the worst thing to do, have a car accident, run into a power pole, take out 1,500, 2,000 people when we're already out trying to restore. So please listen to county and city leaders on those sorts of things.
Centerpoint getting ready, tons of crews, both local and folks here from out of state to help out just in case if needed. You can watch the entire news conference all on our website at khou.com. Now, if you need a place to stay warm, there are 10 warming centers you see here across Houston. They will remain open until Thursday. The mayor says so far, about 609 people are staying in those shelters until temperatures get significantly warmer. If you need help getting to a warming center, there are also free rides available. Simply call 311.
And if you do not live near a warming center, the United Way is standing by to assist you. They have opened the 211 helpline. There are trained specialists to connect those in need with resources in their community.
Right now, a lot of people making a last minute, I do mean last minute dash, because the storm is coming for supplies before the storm hits.
Yes, some places have already sold out, so you may need to get a little creative. At C&D Hardware and the Heights, we're told they've sold all their windshield scrapers, so customers are buying things like paint scrapers and glue brushes to clear ice off their car windows. C&D's owner, Dwayne Meyer, says his staff is working hard to restock the shelves until the very last minute.
First, everybody was worried about their pipes and their plants, and we were able to handle that rush. And then we've just run out of the plant covers. And then as those things are taken care of, people are starting to think, oh, wait a minute, my pets, my heater, myself, maybe my neighbors, checking on those guys.
Grocery stores like H-E-B and Kroger are also working to keep essentials on the shelves until closing time. I know Kroger stores in the Houston area will close at 9 o'clock tonight, and H-E-B stores will close just an hour later at 10. Both Kroger and H-E-B are expected to reopen tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
I had to bust out my combination scraper brush because it had cobwebs on it. Because it's been like, 3 years since I've used it. So it's out and I'm ready and I know how to use it because,
That's your background.
That's my background.
You've been there, done that before.
Bring it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, right now there's some conflicting information from local officials about whether or not to drip your pipes.
Most experts will tell you you should drip water from your pipes to prevent water from freezing and causing the pipes to burst. But if you are in the city of Houston, officials are urging you not to drip water.
We ask that you not drip water in your homes to keep it going. Open the cabinets under your sinks to let that go. Water pressure is a real issue when everyone drips water at the same time.
Mayor Whitmire also noted low water pressure could create issues for firefighters when they need to pull water from fire hydrants while responding to a fire. So again, leave your cabinet doors open before you decide to drip water from your pipes in the city of Houston. TxDOT and other agencies have been pre-treating the roads to prepare for incoming ice and snow. They've also brought in some equipment we don't usually see in these parts.
No, we don't. Troy Kless in Sugarland tonight to show us the snow plows standing by.
TxDOT has crews prepared to roll out in case there is precipitation on the roadways. That includes these snow plows that are brought in and are currently stationed at their Sugarland office. Although the special equipment is here, TxDOT is still asking people to stay off of the roads. TxDOT says these snowplows were brought in from across the region, 22 in total, with up to 9 stationed at TxDOT's Sugarland office. So far, TxDOT Houston says it has treated 1,200 miles of roadways. These roadways, like what you see here, are treated with brine, a salt and water mixture to prevent roadways from freezing. TxDOT staff says the winter weather will be disruptive.
This is not a treatment to encourage people to be on the roadway. In the event that we have significant accumulation, we do have resources in place in our district to actually be responsive if we need to actually move snow and accumulation off.
All of TxDOT's offices are working in 24-hour shifts, ready to respond when needed. Besides the snow plows, TxDOT says that it will also have trucks out spreading aggregate on impacted roadways to give them additional traction as needed. But again, the main message to drivers is to give these crews space if they are out working and stay off the roads if you can. In Sugarland, Troy Kless, KHOU 11 News.
If you were on the roads over this weekend and even today, you likely saw a TxDOT or city crew spraying streets and highways.
Yes, indeed. We know they are putting down brine, like Troy mentioned, but what exactly is it? How is it going to help? Cheetah Craft now explain it all.
First, understand when water is in its liquid state, like rain. The molecules are loosely packed. Whenever water reaches the freezing point of 32 degrees or below, molecules are then packed more tightly. Now on roads, this causes a big problem. Wet, icy, and slushy roads reduce traction between your car's tires and the road surface. So if you hit ice, your car could suddenly go into a skid, which is a scary situation. That's why we need to break up these molecules to limit ice or slush on the roads. Now, salt or brine solution does not necessarily melt ice or snow with increased heat. It merely brings the freezing point of water to a lower temperature. At the molecular level, the salt molecules get in the way of the bonding water molecules, helping it not to freeze. The regular freezing point of water is 32 degrees. Adding sodium chloride lowers that freezing point to 15 degrees, using science to make us a little safer.
Thank you, Cheetah. The roads quickly becoming more dangerous in these overnight hours.
Houston drivers, we are not used to navigating the ice, that's for certain. So Michelle Choi has a step-by-step lesson on what to do if you encounter an icy road.
So with the winter storm coming, you're going to want to check your tires now. Don't wait till it's here.
Brad Coleman is the owner of Safeway Driving here in Houston. He says when driving in winter weather, the first thing you want to do is check to see what kind of tires you have.
I think that's one of the most dangerous things of winter driving here in Houston especially is people don't think about their tire compound. We have a lot of people running summer tires. They're not made for temperatures below 45 degrees. The compound gets very hard and you start sliding across the pavement, whether there's ice or not.
Once on the road, Coleman says it's important to go slow and
really be extra careful to leave a lot more space than you're used to other cars around you. And when it's time to slow down, you're going to have to slow down a lot sooner.
He says double your braking distance if there's snow on the road. When it comes to driving in icy conditions, he says it's important to be extra cautious on bridges and overpasses, which freeze faster. And if you do run into an icy patch, here's a step-by-step guide on what you should do.
Step 1, stay calm, keep the wheel straight. Step 2, try not to make any sudden movements with the brake or the steering wheel. In step 3, if you do make a sudden movement and the car starts sliding, steer into the direction of the skid and the direction you want the car to go.
All right, here's something else we want to remind you about. Fires caused by space heaters and carbon monoxide poisoning can be deadly.
So here are some crucial safety reminders as we prepare for the chilly days ahead.
As Houstonians brace for the Arctic blast, small engine repair shop owners like Marco Leon are expecting to service dozens of generators in the coming days.
Number one cause of a lot of these generators that come in is because they'd never checked the oil, and they ran them until the engines just busted.
If your generator has been sitting in your garage for some time, make sure there's fresh fuel in it and remove any old fuel. Here's a refresher course on what you need to do before firing it up.
So the first thing you should do is always make sure that the fuel valve is on. It's usually under the fuel tank, right on top of your engine. You'll see that it says on or off. Second thing you should do, if you're about to turn it on, make sure that the switch is on, or you could just leave it on, put it on choke. That would be the third thing to do, and then just turn it on.
As for safely using a generator, fire officials say make sure it's placed at least 20 feet away from your home, not in the garage, with open doors and windows to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning.
Carbon monoxide is the silent killer. It's tasteless, can't smell it, can't see it. It sneaks up on you.
Officials say it's also important to not use ovens, stove, or gas grills to heat your home. Captain Cedric Robinette with the Houston Fire Department also shared how to safely use a space heater.
Make sure your space heater is on a flat surface on the ground. Never leave it unattended.
And make sure space heaters have space.
All space heaters should be placed on the ground 3 feet away from all combustibles, such as blankets, towels, bedding, curtains, anything that's flammable.
He says space heaters should also never be plugged into an extension cord or surge protector, which can overheat, leading to a potential fire. If you plan on using a fireplace to stay warm, Lee Roth with Lord Chimneys says before you do anything else, look for problem spots.
First, look. If you see a ton of rust, if you see cracks or holes or bricks that move, it's time to stop and not use anything until you have it inspected.
If you do plan on using the fireplace in the coming days, he says make sure the damper is open and light up something like a newspaper to see which direction the smoke is being pulled.
Everything should go to the outside. So if you smell any kind of fire, if it smells like an ashtray inside your house, there's something wrong.
An ashtray inside your house. That's a bad sign.
You think? Okay, let's circle back around to current conditions.
All right, I don't mean to make light of it, but Chief Meteorologist David Paul, Meteorologist Pat Kavlin here now. David, you're first.
I mean, I tell you, if it does end up being almost all snow, it will be the lighter side of what the alternatives are. If we end up getting a lot of sleet and ice, that will be much more serious. So far, we're seeing a little bit of very light sleet, but temperatures are still above freezing right now, so nothing is sticking. Winter storm warning in effect for all of southeast Texas. That extends all the way from San Antonio all the way down the Gulf Coast to Florida. Weather impact alert is in place. Heavy snow and sleet late tonight and tomorrow. Through noon tomorrow is when we'll still see a chance for snow. Then it's going to exit. Very dangerous travel. They're going to stop airport operations at Bush at midnight tonight. So nothing doing out of Bush after midnight until conditions improve. That may be 24 hours from now. Our roads, especially after midnight, once temps drop below freezing, are going to begin to get icy. So you want to make sure you're off the roads now and stay off them through the middle of Wednesday. That's a day and a half because we think we may see ice on roads through tomorrow, through Tuesday night, and through at least the first half of Wednesday. Outside right now, temps are all above freezing. It's 35 in Conroe, Tomball's 36, Sugarland 37. And by the way, all those spots are reporting light sleet mixing with a little snow. But even though it's falling through the ground, through the air as ice, once it hits the ground, everything's above freezing, so nothing's sticking, no problems on the roads yet, even though the radar looks very impressive. That's all very light sleet and snow from Houston up to Waco, up to Dallas. Dallas, that's all light snow coming down right there, very light snow. The green is rain. So a coastal low is forming here. It's still in the process of developing. It really won't get cranked up until late tonight and early tomorrow morning. That's when all that moisture interacts with all the cold air and we get the heavier snow coming down. I think after midnight is when the really heavy stuff is going to come down. Here's southeast Texas, all the blue, light sleet mixing with a little snow, basically from downtown northward all the way to Huntsville and all the way up to Lufkin. Now look at this, rain forming off the Galveston coast now. So that's part of the surface low developing, intensifying. That's moisture coming up, interacting with the colder air. This is new. Light sleet now, Chambers County and over Galveston Bay. It's not often we show sleet over Galveston Bay, but there it is. And Liberty County getting in on that light sleet as well. Here's Harris County Spring, light sleet mixing with snow. Same thing for Cypress, Klein area, Meyer Park, 99 connector up there, all getting light sleet. In between 610 and the Beltway, Aldine area getting light sleet. A little bit of snowflake action right into downtown Houston as well. The Montrose getting a little bit of light sleet. Hobby Airport area, same thing. Baytown, all the light blue is light sleet mixing with a little snow. Mont Bellevue to Liberty. Then Katy getting a little splash of light sleet as well. Here's a closer view of Spring. There's the 99 connector. Hardy Toll Road, I-45, all where they come together, getting that light sleet right now. But again, temps above freezing here, so no problems on the roads yet. 249, light sleet out through Klein. 290 out to Cypress, light sleet. 5969 up past Kingwood, Roman Forest, light sleet pockets. There's the north side of Lake Houston. Atascocita getting some light sleet along with Kingwood. A little more moderate sleet now. Columbus out in Colorado County, a little more lift. See how the blue is darker, indicating a little bit more of a stronger radar return. So a little bit more precip out there. Let's take a look at the models. We go into now light pockets of snow and sleet already popping up. We go into 11 o'clock, widespread snow. I think most of that turns over to snow as we head into 11 o'clock and midnight from downtown to Crockett, from Brenham to Liberty. And then after that, we go into 3 a.m., and that's just widespread moderate snow. All the way from San Antonio, Schulenburg to Brenham, Houston to Liberty, Beaumont, Lake Charles to Lafayette, all getting snow up and down the I-10 corridor, kind of shutting it down. Then we go into 6:30 in the morning, still significant snow across the area. It may be that that's heavy snow. Galveston and the south side of Harris County. I would say Gulf Freeway and I-10 East may be the worst spots tomorrow morning at 6:30. Then we get into 10 o'clock. Now we've got clearing happening quickly back behind that, but even by 10 o'clock, still a band of snow along the coast. And then finally by about noon 30, it all exits. And by that time, Pat Kavlin, we may have had one of the heaviest snowfalls that Houston has ever seen. I say one of them, so 1973, we had about 4 inches.
Yep, and then 4.4 in 1960.
1960 was the other big one. And then you got to go back to 1899 and 1895 for the two big ones that were 10 inches or more.
Yeah. Dave, I want us, before they take away the double boxes here, so keep us both up, I was looking at some of the reports on our radar app, and they're starting to switch over to snow.
Yeah,
so I
good.
think a lot of that blue that we're seeing on radar is not sleet anymore. I think it's actually snow. And I do think it's starting to come down at a good clip. This is way ahead of schedule. I mean, the future track that you just showed, that didn't show the snow starting until like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we're ahead of schedule.
We're like 3 hours ahead of schedule. So that's going to have an impact, I think, on snow totals. We've updated that. I want to show the folks this now. Dave, you'll get a kick out of this.
What do you have up behind you, Pat?
The hurricane hunters. They are up in the air right now, believe it or not. We talk about the hurricane hunters obviously a lot during the summer. They fly into the hurricanes to do reconnaissance and to gather data. And the purpose of that, the purpose of those flights in the summer, is to improve the forecasts of those hurricanes. It is the same principle, but with winter storms. They've got some downtime during this winter months, and so when there are big events like this that happen, they are recruited to fly into these storms to get data, and that data then gets fed into our computer models that we can then use to make better forecasts. So I think we might see a shift in our forecasting models tonight as that new data comes in, but you can see the snow overspreading Houston, the plane a couple hundred miles offshore of Houston down to the south, and that's going to be doing the rounds up here in the upper atmosphere, gathering that data for to make a better forecast for you at home. So I just mentioned to Dave, and Dave just showed this to you. We'll show it again. 10 p.m. I mean, this is close to what we're seeing outside right now. Those steady bands of snow and sleet still mixing in, coming down north of the city. So this model really has the best handle on what's going on of everything. This is our in-house graph computer model, and it shows those heavy bands of snow in the blue. This will eventually continue to spread south as we get into the overnight, and the heavy snow becomes widespread across the entire area through the overnight, through tomorrow morning. It's not until late morning into the early afternoon that things start to move out of here. I think it's a pretty progressive or fast moving system. Notice by 10:30 in the morning, we may be done with the snow in Houston, and then we have the whole day to kind of try to clean up as best we can. Coastal spots, though, you're going to hang on to that snow a little bit longer, probably till about midday, and then into the afternoon. If we're lucky, we get to the mid-30s. The problem, though, is that we could see refreezing tomorrow night. So that model is spitting out this in terms of snow potential. 5 inches for Houston, 6 inches for Liberty, 4 inches for Huntsville, 5 inches in the beaches of Galveston. Higher totals out towards Lake Charles near 10 inches. We'll do 10 inches for the GFS, the Long Range American model, and that has a pretty similar solution. 4, 5, 6 inches along I-10 down towards Galveston. European model, a similar solution, 3 to 6 inches here along I-10 and down to the coast. Brand new update here with the snow forecast. This is a new update, first time you're seeing it. We have pulled that 3 to 5 inch range farther to the west to reflect, 1, the earlier start time for the snow, and 2, just those radar, the model trends rather, that we've been seeing consistently printing out these bigger snow totals. I think the fact that we're seeing snowflakes already falling across the Houston area is giving me more confidence in this. In fact, we do have a live image if we could take this. This is from Edo, so we're looking to the west. Looks like there's oh, not frozen. Occasionally, if you look to the right side here, you'll see a couple of snowflakes coming down. They're very, very, very light, but occasionally a few flurries coming down. This is in Edo. This is courtesy of, what is the site here? Whattrains.com? WeTrains.com? Livetrains.com, sorry, and we're looking to the east, so there's downtown obviously, and occasionally there in the light on this camera, you get those few flakes coming down there on the right-hand side of the screen. This is going to fill in fast over the next few hours. Back to graphics, this is the reason why we've upped the totals, because we're already seeing just pure snow in a few parts of the area. I do think that the farther west you go, totals are still lower, and that jackpot's still out of our reach into Louisiana. So bottom line, crippling snowstorm on the way for us here in southeast Texas and really through the entire south. Winter storm warnings extend from the U.S.-Mexico border all the way to coastal South Carolina. Travel completely halted, airports shut down tonight at midnight. And then it's the extreme cold, even long after the snow is done. We're talking about temperatures that will plummet tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. These are actual air temperatures. That's going to be a major, major, major issue in terms of pipe bursting potential. 12 degrees in Angleton, 11 degrees in Anahuac, 17 in Katy and Brenham, 19 in Houston. We rebound to the 40s Wednesday afternoon and then back to the 20s again Thursday morning. So we will see several instances of melting and refreezing through the course of the week. So this snow and ice will be on the ground, I think, for quite some time, probably through Thursday across the Houston area. A general rule of thumb, if you're driving and the ground looks wet and it's overnight, it's ice. Just treat it as ice. If it looks wet and it's cold out, treat it as if it were ice. Those are the kinds of conditions we're going to be dealing with here for the next few days. 27 tonight in the Heights, 28 for Montrose, Brookhaven, Mykawa, we're at 28, same for West Chase. Copperfield, you're going to be at 27 degrees in Cypress and at Tomball. And then on the wider shot, 26 Brenham, 30 for Galveston, 25 in Huntsville and Conroe as heavy snow develops. 33 for Jersey Village tomorrow, same for Channelview and Alcott. On the wider shot, 34 for Conroe, 36 Galveston. These temperatures go above freezing after the snow exits. So it's tomorrow afternoon, once we get some sunshine, that will make it into the mid-30s. So weather impact alert in effect for the snow tomorrow. Another one in effect for Wednesday. This is for that hard freeze in the morning with temperatures down into the teens. Another hard freeze getting into Thursday morning, but we do make it to the 50s by the afternoon. So that's when we finally start to make some headway with improving weather and clean out. The snow melts really fast with temperatures in the 50s. And we'll be back in the 60s by Saturday and Sunday. Long road, though, ahead of us, guys. And we've got a lot of snow coming up over the next few hours.
Absolutely. And Pat, again, talking about those temperatures going into Wednesday morning, the lows anywhere from the 20s into the teens. You showed a model. This is another model. The models at times are having trouble kind of interpreting how cold it's going to get because they're not seeing the snow that is going to be on the ground. That's a new wrinkle for the models to handle. They quite often don't see it. And so I think these lows on this particular map, like Sugarland 17, Angleton 14, those are probably more realistic as to what we're going to see Wednesday morning instead of these mid-20s. And that's why the hard freeze is a warning that we want you to take seriously. People, pets, plants, and pipes all need to be protected before We go into Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. 7-day, again, weather impact alerts Tuesday and at least through the first half of Wednesday with a hard freeze in the morning Wednesday. And then we warm up. And by the time we get to Sunday, Len and Mia, how about highs near 70 on Sunday? Would that be okay with you?
Good grief. Yeah, that'll work.
I can't wait.
Houston in the winter can be one of the most active weather markets in the world, and it's really living up to it this winter.
In the winter?
Yeah. Yeah, that jet stream takes a dip and we get the action.
No, I'm teasing you. In the winter, I feel like year-round, David Paul.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
the most
exactly.
active.
Yeah.
Well,
year-round.
That too.
Can I say this? I moved here to get away from this nonsense. And the nonsense followed me. And I'm trying to understand what happened.
Oh, my goodness.
What happened? Okay, David has no answers. Thank you, gentlemen.